morning, glory, and evening grace, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. I am so pleased to bring you all the news every single day, but I want to bring you, especially right now, a reminder that Sunday is Pearl Harbor Day. And while I'll keep you up to date with all the breaking news throughout the day, and we've got Seth Leibsohn coming up, we've got former Senator Rick Santorum joining us, Larry Arnn will be along a little bit later, all the headlines. I wanted to start today with a very special guest in studio. Commander Ken Jahnke is a veteran of Pearl Harbor 73 years ago Sunday. He'd been brought to my studio by the Honorable Tom Tate, the mayor of California's great city of Anaheim. Commander Jahnke, welcome. It's great to have you in the studio today.
Thank you very much, Hugh. It's good to be here.
And Mayor, welcome. It's good to see you.
It's always good to see you, Hugh.
You've got laryngitis, which is really bad for an elected official.
Yeah, it always is.
Did you have a meeting last night?
Yeah, you would think.
But not the case?
Not the case.
Well, I hope you're feeling better. Commander Jahnke, would you tell us what you were doing 73 years ago Sunday?
Well, we were at roughly 8 o'clock. We always raise colors of the flag aboard the ships. Battleships carry a full complement of musicians that play the Star-Spangled Banner. We were just getting ready to raise colors when we were attacked by the Japanese Imperial Navy.
How old were you at the time?
I was 17 years of age.
What was your rank?
Seaman first class.
And you were from Colorado?
I'm originally from eastern Colorado, yes.
And so a farm kid from East, or a range kid? Is that what you were?
I had 8 brothers and sisters, and we lived on a 1,080-acre ranch in eastern Colorado.
And so somehow you got to Hawaii on December 7th,
well,
1941.
Well, I got tired of the farm life and thought I'd try the Navy. At that time, they paid a great deal of money, $19 a month.
I love that story. When I was having lunch with Commander earlier today, he told me that. And you sent $15 a month to home to Mom?
I sent my mother $15 allotment, and then I kept $4 for myself.
I would say $4 can go a long way on a battleship, I imagine.
Well, in those days, that was a lot of money.
On December 7th, you were raising the colors. What was your job that morning?
I was a seaman first class, and I was raising the colors.
You actually put them up?
Yes, we raised the colors, we put them up, and then I think I still have the flag at home someplace.
And so how did you know you were under attack?
When the first torpedo hit the ship and knocked me off the ship.
And that's, boom, you were in the water.
It threw me in the water, and the water was burning because of the oil slick and the ammunition and bombs going off and what have you, created a fire in the ocean through the oil. And
how did you come to?
I was never really knocked unconscious.
You just hurtled from the ship into the burning water. And so the Oklahoma went down fairly quickly, correct?
Yes, she capsized, yes.
Oh, and lots of men were lost of life on that, as many as the Arizona?
Probably around, I forget the amount right now, between 500 and 600 people were killed.
And all around you, carnage. The Arizona went down very quickly.
There were 8 battleships in the harbor at the time, and 3 of the ships were damaged to beyond repair. The one ship was in dry dock, one battleship, and so consequently she wasn't damaged as much as the other ships were.
My audience knows that my wife's uncle, Joe Tossig, was an ensign aboard the Nevada, got it underway, beached it, and then lost his leg in a subsequent attack there. I am curious, how did you get out of the water?
I was picked up by a motor whale boat. I was taken into shore. I was patched up, and they had medics on the dock. Working on, a lot of people were more damaged than I were, and so consequently, after they patched me up, they assigned me to a motor whale boat and to go out and rescue other people who were in the water.
And so, how long did you keep doing that mission? All night and all day?
Well, it was at least 8 or 10 hours.
And so, all through that period of time, when were you aware that you guys have been surprise attacked? What did you get? The shock of it?
I realized the minute that the torpedo hit the ship.
But I mean, did you begin to say, "Oh my gosh, how did they sneak up on us?"
Well, yeah, they caught us with our pants down. There's no doubt about it. We were expecting an attack before it happened, but we didn't know when, because the military had broken the Japanese code, and they were aware of the fact that Japanese was thinking about doing some form of damage to the U.S. fleet.
What's a 17-year-old's life like on a battleship on December 6th? I mean, what was life like before we went to war?
It was a different environment than working on a farm, I'll tell you. I was only aboard the ship a couple of months before it happened, and at that time, the personnel who went aboard the ship were required to give the ship's nomenclature. In other words, you had to know where you were at all times, and you were able to get away and find your way back on board ship on the main deck and what have you. Battleship is about 8 to 10 floors below the surface. All of the different quarters and officers' quarters and
enormous
mess hall and everything else.
Did you expect to go to war? I mean, did you?
No. It was quite a surprise to everybody.
And so when you would sit around, the sailors would shoot the breeze and play poker or whatever?
Yeah, we played a lot of acey-deucey and a lot of games at the Pinochle.
Sailors are the same, and I imagine you had a couple of drinks when you could go on shore.
Oh, yeah, not too many because of the salary.
Okay, well, but sailor's life's the same all the way through.
That's very true, yes.
How long till you got back up on a ship that was working as opposed to a whaler? When did they get you assigned to your next ship?
After I was injured, they put me in the hospital in Hawaii, and then when I was well enough to get up and move around, then I went into Naval Long Beach Hospital, and I was told that I was going to lose both of my legs and my arm, but they were able to save them, and I'm very thankful for that. And after I got out of the hospital in Long Beach, and then I went aboard the USS O'Bannon, DD-116, I believe. She was an old four-stacker from the World War I era, and one of the most honored and decorated ships in the U.S. Navy.
I've got to tell you, you told me that at lunch, and I said to the mayor at lunch, I know there's a family connection. I got to go find out. So on the drive over here, I called, and my mother-in-law's first husband, George Phillip, was the executive officer on the O'Bannon. And so you served along. It's a small world. And she instantly said, that's George Phillip's ship before he took command of the Twig. So he was number 2 on the O'Bannon. You said you'd recognize the name a little bit, but the O'Bannon's and then she went on to tell me it's one of the most storied ships in the United States Navy. After the O'Bannon, what did you go on to?
I went on the USS Bagaduce, seagoing tug stationed in Alaska.
And you served in how many?
That was after the World War II.
And how many battles in World War II were you in?
I was in 9 major battles,
including the Coral Sea and Midway.
Coral Sea and Midway and Tarawa, Guadalcanal. I can't remember them all right now, but I was in 9.
Commander Jahnke, how many veterans of Pearl Harbor are left?
In Orange County, there are 4 U.S. Navy personnel left alive.
And how many in the United States?
Probably less than 50.
So we got to take care of you for the 75th anniversary and the 100th anniversary.
Well, I'm still doing pretty well. I have most of my wits about me. And
You've got all your wits about you, I can tell from lunch. When was the last time you were over in Hawaii for one of the ceremonies?
4 years ago was the last time I made it.
The 70th, or was that the...
And I was that was the 71st.
Okay.
Or 70th anniversary.
Any shipmates left from the Oklahoma?
I couldn't answer that. I don't know.
There is an O'Bannon Society, I was told by the fetching Mrs. Hewitt, of people who served on the O'Bannon. And I'm curious how often you talk about this.
Very seldom.
Why is that?
Well, I don't know. It's just, something that I went through, and I figured that it's been so long that, I have been interviewed several times about my early life, and it's on record, and that's I just haven't, pursued it anymore.
When the Pearl Harbor was under attack, after they got you out of the water that morning, 73 years ago Sunday morning, did the planes keep coming, or was the attack pretty much over by the time you got back in the water?
They had 2 waves of planes come in. The first wave was the one that sunk our ship. We were the first ships attacked. And then after the attack, the second wave came in, and we had already capsized, and there were a lot of sailors trapped inside the ship. And they had the ship fitters go in and with cutting torches and cut a hole in the side of the ship and rescue a lot about 400 sailors were trapped in that one section of the ship, and they were all rescued.
They were alive?
Yes.
Now, can you remember vividly what it looked like that day?
Well, it was just like actually any other day in Hawaii. It was a beautiful summer day, and
well, hang on there. I'll be right back with Commander Ken Jahnke and Mayor Tom Tate. Don't go anywhere. It's the Hugh Hewitt Show. Minutes after the hour, American Hugh Hewitt. All the breaking news I'll bring your way. I'll be talking with Seth Leibson after the break as well, and I'll be talking with Brian Westbury about the jobs report. Senator Rick Santorum coming by later. But I just wanted to spend the first two segments today because my friend Tom Tate told me that in the great city of Anaheim, there lived a great veteran of World War II, Commander Ken Jahnke, who was on the USS Oklahoma, a battleship as a 17-year-old seaman, first class, when torpedoes struck and sunk the Oklahoma on Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th. One of only four in Orange County, California, about 50 Pearl Harbor vets left in the United States. So, Commander, after all these years, can you remember what it looked like, the scene in the harbor after the two waves of attack, the ship sinking and the boats going around?
Well, it was certainly chaos. There was an awfully lot of people in the water, military men. The Arizona had been sunk. She lost roughly 1,500 men, crew members. We lost roughly, I think, around 600. There's three ships, the Iowa, the Oklahoma, and the Arizona, were the ships that weren't able to be repaired. And the Arizona is now a living monument to all the people who gave their lives for Pearl Harbor.
It's one of the sacred spaces in America people should go. So, Tom Tate, have you guys honored the greatest generation in the city of Anaheim? How'd you come to know Commander Jahnke?
I was went to the senior center in town, and they had a dance, and I was there, and one of the folks there said, one of our members here is a Pearl Harbor vet. And so I introduced myself, and we sat down and met this fine gentleman. So we last year before Pearl Harbor Day, we invited Mr. Jahnke over to receive a proclamation from the city, just honoring him and honoring Pearl Harbor Day.
On Sunday at the Nixon Library, the Gold Star parents are lighting the Christmas tree, and I had a couple of them on a couple days ago, and they thought that one of the things they've begun to do is to have the Gold Star parents from Vietnam come. But, of course, the tradition of sacrifice goes back to your friends who didn't get off the Oklahoma, and I assume you knew a bunch of people who didn't make it back, Commander Jahnke.
Oh, yes.
Can you get close to the microphone? In the Battle of the Coral Sea and the subsequent battles, and you knew Douglas MacArthur?
Yes, I did.
How so?
I was on his staff when the Philippines were liberated.
And so, and you were close to that landing, that famous picture of him going on?
I was right behind him and landing in Tacloban Leyte.
And he said what he said he was going to say?
He said, "I have returned."
And how'd you feel that day after having done Pearl Harbor to the return of the Philippines?
It was nice to know that we were getting close to Japan and to end the war.
And did you go? Did you actually set foot in Japan as well?
Yes, I sure did.
And what were the circumstances there?
Right after the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the Japanese surrendered, I was one of the first warships in the harbor.
Which ship was that?
That was the USS O'Bannon.
Oh, it was the O'Bannon? So you were on board the O'Bannon when it led the Missouri in?
Yes. The Anderson and the O'Bannon both, yes.
Okay. Now, my mother-in-law's first husband had died on the Twigs, so he didn't accompany you on that. He had taken command of the Twigs, but that must have been something. And after the war, you stayed in the Navy?
Yes, sir.
How long?
I was until 1964.
And so
1965, I'm sorry.
Up in Alaska on a seagoing tug, and what else?
Well, I spent most of my time on destroyers. In Korea, I was on the Valley Forge aircraft carrier. And then during the Vietnam era, I was on the USS Lloyd Thomas DD-764.
Were you in command of that?
Yes, I was.
That's where the commander came in.
Well, that's what the commander gets as a destroyer.
That is a terrific thing. And what happened to Lloyd Thomas?
Well, as far as I know, she went to New Zealand as part of the fleet of the New Zealanders.
And so what year did you retire from the Navy, Commander?
1965.
And so all those years, do you think Americans still pay enough attention to Pearl Harbor and the prospect of being surprised as we were again, sadly, on 9/11?
Well, the Americans are funny people. They take a lot for granted. It's an entirely different situation now than when I was in the service. It was it's entirely different. All the military.
How better?
Well, I wouldn't say it's any better, because I feel that we were from a generation that will never exist again during the early 1900s.
Last question, Commander Jahnke. There have been a lot of movies about Pearl Harbor. Did any of them capture the drama and the tragedy of that day?
Well, Hugh, I never have watched any of the movies, so I couldn't answer that question.
Why is that?
Because I was there and I knew what happened.
And did not want to relive it, or just thought
That's
they could
correct,
not?
Yes.
Did not want to relive it?
No.
Why?
Well, I guess the kind of person I am. I don't know.
Have you stayed in touch with any of your shipmates from other than the Oklahoma?
No, I don't know of anybody that's still living that was in that era.
Well, that is remarkable. And I hope, and are the services, were you there when Reagan went over for the Pearl Harbor commemoration?
No, I wasn't.
Who was the president when you went the last time? Was it President Obama? Did he show up?
No, it was last president when I went over was, golly, I can't answer that question, 1960. See, when did I go back last? 2010 was the last time I was back.
Well, I don't know if President Obama went that year. They usually go on the 5s. And so if you go back over on the 75th in 2 years, hopefully President Obama will be there. He's from Hawaii. I wouldn't imagine he would miss it. But I think everyone should go and visit the Arizona. It's absolutely one of the most important places in America.
Well, it was kind of sad, because the December 7th, 2010, I was the only survivor that showed up to at the memorial service.
Really?
Yes.
Well, you guys you're healthy. You're strong and fleet of foot still, so maybe that's just your luck.
Well, I don't know why, but it was kind of embarrassing to me, because they have a line that goes around the city block a couple of times, and due to that fact, for the survivors, they let you in first and give you spatial seating so they can introduce you to the people who are there attending the memorial service. And I was the only one there representing the U.S. Navy when that happened.
Well, I hope that more of them join you in 2 years when you go back for the 75th. And I want to thank you for everything you did. By the way, when you were at the Battle of the Coral Sea and these other things, did you know you were winning?
Well, at the Coral Sea, that was about a 50-50 draw. The Japanese lost a carrier. We lost a carrier, the Lexington. We lost several, I think about 9 ships, and they lost about 9 ships, and so it was just about a 50-50 draw.
Were any of the other ships you served on ever struck by torpedo again?
Well, we were bombed and strafed a few times, but no real damage.
And so you spent the war on the O'Bannon, for more or less?
Not necessarily. I was on several other ships, but at Korea, I was aboard the Valley Forge.
And they never got attacked, did they? The Koreans couldn't manage
Well,
attacks.
yes, we got an artillery shell from one of the field artillery pieces from the North Koreans. Killed 14 people aboard the carrier.
I didn't know that. Oh, they had artillery range that could reach the carriers off the coast of Korea?
Oh, yes. We were pretty close to shore, so they killed 14 people on the stern of the ship.
I didn't know that. Commander Jahnke, thank you for coming in and sharing memories of December 7th. It's a great honor to have you in the studio. Mayor Tate, thank you for bringing him by, and I'm sure all of America joins me in saying thank you.
Can I add one more thing?
You bet.
December the 14th, 1 week after Pearl Harbor, the Japanese sent 2 float planes, large seaplanes, to bomb the carriers. The carriers were in port, and due to the fact that the island was overcast real bad with the bad weather, the Japanese couldn't find the ships, so they had to just drop their bombs and go back to wherever they came from.
Well,
but very few people know this.
A bit of blessing there. A bit of good luck.
You bet.
Commander Jahnke, thank you. I'll be right back, America. It's the Hugh Hewitt Show. Minutes after the hour, America, it's Hugh Hewitt. How humbling is that to talk to somebody like Ken Jahnke. The commander is such an extraordinary American. His doctor, wife, and Tom Tate, so happy to have him in the studio, and a reminder of just the great, enormous nobility of the greatest generation, of which my dad was a part. I bet you a lot of everybody out there. Well, Laura's calling in from Santa Clarita. Hi, Laura. Welcome to the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Hi, Hugh. Thank you for having me on. The young man that answered the phone is a real nice young man.
He's tricked you.
Oh, he tricked me? Yeah. I don't think so. He sounded very sincere. Anyway, my uncle was on the Arizona. His name is on the wall there. He was killed. He's still at the bottom of Pearl Harbor. And every Veterans Day and Memorial Day and whatever is a hard day for me. I have an old black and white picture of Grandma and Grandpa standing on the porch of the little old house holding the American flag that was given to them. God bless these men and women who fought for us and fought for freedom and for people to be able to believe what they want to believe, and for this wonderful country that we have. We must remember them, and we must keep going and do what they did to keep our country going.
Well said, Laura, and thank you. That's a beautiful call. I was so impressed with Ken Jahnke and the commander sitting here just talking to him. It's not funny. It's just the way life is. You know, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law lost their dad in 1945, and here it is, 2014, and Ken Jahnke, who was on the ship with him, is still alive. And I find that, that is the randomness of war. He was kamikazed when he was in command of the Twigs, and Ken Jahnke's still going. And the wheel turns, and it's just great that there are still these amazing veterans around. And your uncle went to the bottom of the sea on the Arizona that day, and I hope that all the best thing that you can see are those people who go to Washington, D.C. for the freedom flights where they take back the greatest generation to see the World War II memorial. Those are the most amazing things. And I'm so appreciative that they're still among us and to have that interview. It's like I have Bill Barber interview in my audio file, Medal of Honor recipient, Hero of the Chosen, Reservoir, and of Iwo Jima. And I treasure that one just like I'll treasure having the audio of Ken Jahnke. Hey, news this afternoon. Candy Crowley has left CNN. Candy Crowley. And good